which one of these is best for you? Which one goes the best with espresso? This one? Or is it this one? Maybe this one's better for you. Could it be this one? I think this is the one you really may want. This is the famous F40. Our guest today is Helder Rosa, the general manager of Ferrari Naples. And whether or not you're a car enthusiast or a business leader or someone who's just interested in the psychology of luxury and the art of service, you're gonna love what's under the hood today. Let's dive in. All right, good. Welcome back to another episode and a special guest today. Of course, Helder Rosa, who's a brilliant business mind, but also a really awesome family guy too. You know, I saw something that I'll tell about in just a minute, because I also want to point out that he's a really good looking guy. He got a great haircut. He's one of our special guests here at the salon. And we also have the honor and the privilege of doing your beautiful wife too, who's a special person. And I know you're a real family guy. I watched a video you did with your kids for Father's Day. And one of the things your daughter said was that you instilled in her was always put God first and do the right thing when nobody's watching. I thought that was touched my heart, that you're a true father in a special way. So
yeah, the foundation's important. You know, the foundation, when it's built and it's rock solid, you never got to look at it, right?
Yeah.
It'll keep things upright. And that's what my wife, and I'll attest, beautiful wife indeed.
Yeah.
Very fortunate to be married to Laura. But yeah, the foundation, our faith is our North Star. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for giving up your time, especially at season now. It's you drive from the south side to the north side. I know it takes a little while for you to get up there, so I appreciate you taking some time for
my
us.
pleasure.
Here.
I'm
Thanks.
Honored to be on the show.
Thanks. So a Boston guy originally. How what was your upbringing like? What had you be who you are? What was it like for you growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Boston, a suburb just north of the city. My parents are immigrants from an island of Madeira. Most people don't never heard Madeira Island, but Madeira is off the coast of Lisbon by the Canary Islands in the Atlantic. So my parents are immigrants from Madeira. I have two brothers, one of three siblings. I'm the middle child. Mm. And
is the middle child usually the troubled one, or the what? The
middle child they say the middle child's the golden child.
Okay,
I'm not sure about that, but yeah. So I grew up and ended up after college, just kind of got into the car business, just by accident. Mm. And
always had a passion for cars, or what was this?
No, my passion, I would say, comes from serving people. Mm. I worked various jobs growing up. One at McDonald's, my first job.
Is that right? Yeah.
Working at McDonald's, serving people, right?
Yeah. How old were you?
My first job was at 16.
Yeah.
And we had a family friend who ran several franchises, and I had the ability to get to work, and that was my first job. Mm. And from there, I worked in the supermarkets. And again, customer-facing, customer service. And then when I got out of school, it was just kind of like, what am I going to do now? I was a business major, but just had a passion for dealing with people. Mm-hmm. So I actually applied for a job. A company was called New England Copy Specialist. So I was an outside sales rep, selling copiers and fax machines.
Right.
In and around the Boston area. Uh-huh. And my territory that was assigned to me had this giant Mercedes dealership on the outskirts of the city. And I went in and was looking to establish that account. And the general manager at the time, it's hilarious. I walk in there with my black velvet suit, thinking I'm a hot shot, my briefcase. So I it asked who was in charge of the copiers and fax machines and that sort of thing. So they put me in touch with him. Long story short, that day I was offered a job. I think I was there for several hours, offered a job to sell cars.
You went in to pitch them on copiers and fax machines.
Yep.
And you interviewed them. They interviewed you.
Yeah, this guy totally put me together. Great salesman.
That's awesome.
He says, look at that showroom. Look at those beautiful cars. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to come knocking on doors trying to sell boring fax machines and copy machines? I said, well, he's got a point. I said, what? I have no experience. He goes, you don't need any experience. So that was the start of my journey in automotive.
Wow. That's cool.
I worked for that company, if I remember, I think it was less than 2 weeks. I resigned and they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to get in the car business. And the rest was history.
Wow. That's awesome. So and this is outside of Boston.
Yeah, it's a suburb north of the city, in Linfield, Massachusetts.
Linfield, okay. Where's that from Wellesley? That's the only part I know because I had a cousin who lived there and we used to go up to Wellesley. Is it near?
Wellesley, yeah. Wellesley was more centrally located in the city.
Okay.
Linfield, which is where I worked, was more the north end.
Okay.
So
tell me about that region because the north end is where the good stuff is.
All the Italians, of course. The good stuff.
Okay.
The great food.
Great food. Okay.
Those that have last names that end in a vowel and drink a lot of espresso.
So where is the area where the bakery is? The
Michael's Bakery?
Yes. Where's
That's
that?
in the north end.
That's in the north end. Okay.
Yeah. So the north end is all the Italians.
Okay.
South end, all the Irish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then the Portuguese, like me, we're all out in Fall River, New Bedford. So we're out.
New Bedford.
New Bedford. Every once in a while, the Boston accent comes out.
So Fall River is where in relation to that then? Where's
So Fall River is more north or south rather, closer to Rhode Island. So like right there on the Rhode Island border, you got Fall River, New Bedford. You got some big Portuguese population out there still today.
Okay.
All the fishermen.
Oh yeah. Okay. Do you ever go back
to Madeira?
Where your family's from?
Yeah, my parents now spend, I say unfortunately, love to see them more often, but they now spend about 8 months out of the year. So, in fact, we're working on hopefully going to Europe in June to visit my folks.
Oh, nice.
But it's been a couple years since we were there the last time.
Uh-huh.
The kids love it. They enjoy going out there. So,
do they? Yeah.
So we can get out there once every couple years, and then in the interim, my parents will come to Naples.
Do they come here now when they're not there, or do they go to the?
They'll go to Boston because I still have my brothers in Massachusetts, so they try to split up the time.
Okay, and then when you go over there, you stay in that area, Madeira.
Yeah. We stay in the city, and their house is more up in the northern part of the island. Madeira is an island.
Okay,
so they're more up in the middle of the island, and the city's down the marina area. Some big commercial hotels. The Ritz-Carlton is there, so they have some really nice properties there. And Madeira Island, all the big cruise liners come in. It's a little fun fact for anyone listening is Google, or I should say YouTube, firework display in Madeira Island. They've won the Guinness World Record of, I think, the longest or the best firework display in New Year's. It's pretty impressive.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. I didn't know that. And what else are they known for there? Shellfish? Is shellfish a big deal there? Or is that a different part of Portugal?
Yeah, there. It's the wine, Madeira wine.
Okay.
Most people are pretty familiar with Madeira wine.
Okay.
Which is an after dinner wine, more of a dessert wine.
It's like a port?
It's like a port wine, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, real sweet. And bananas, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
It's tropical looking there?
Very tropical.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the tropical islands, winters get around 60s and summer
in
the
nice.
80s.
So what are the months your parents are there? When are they?
They usually leave right after Christmas time and come back around June, July.
Okay.
They spend the summers here and then they're back there.
Yeah.
During the holidays.
And so you go back. Let's go back to your that first job. That was a Mercedes dealer, the first
yeah,
one,
that was
right?
a Mercedes dealer. I was selling cars.
So what was the experience like for you to sell your first car? What was it?
That's funny. There's still, I think most dealerships still have this tradition when you first, your shirt and tie, that's your uniform, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And after you sell your first car, they cut your tie off.
Oh, is that right?
So I remember that day. And, back then we're using flashcards. So it's just when I think about, we're going back now 20 years, you didn't have all the technology that you have today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You had a little Rolodex of flashcards. That's how you manage your client base.
Oh, okay.
But, it's been a great business for me.
Yeah. So you started at the top tier. You started in the luxury, Mercedes being, one of the nice brands.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. Like I said, just kind of walked into that opportunity, being able to represent a brand like Mercedes.
Mm.
And I worked, I sold Mercedes I was back in early 2000s, and we made the trip out to Cleveland, which, we discussed, and that was Mercedes up until 2019. So, 3/4 of my career have been representing the Mercedes brand.
Mm. So what was it the same owner that you moved to? So you were working for Marino opened in Cleveland.
Right.
And
Marino,
then you left.
yeah, Bernie opened up the Mercedes dealership in Cleveland in May of 2005.
And that's when you moved.
That's when I moved.
Okay, because you were working with him.
I was working with Bernie in Boston for a former dealer. And that was about 4 years. I think I was hired sometime in like 2000, 2001.
Okay.
And Bernie at that time was running about a dozen dealerships for the company we worked for. And he spent a lot of time at the dealership that I worked at.
Mm.
Did a lot of training with me and the team. He was very present.
Yeah.
And then he just one day decided to resign from the company.
Mm.
Which
was a big deal because he was
a big
the
deal
thing.
for many people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very influential in the company. And we all were just like, what happened?
Mm.
And then it was several months later when everything came back full circle that he bought a dealership in Cleveland, Ohio, a Mercedes dealership.
Yeah. And that's kind of famous with his story because he leveraged everything that he had in his life, right? He just put all he had into being able to buy this
It's all
dealership.
about taking risks. He took a big risk.
Yeah.
And he left a company that was paying him really, really well. It was very successful. But found out about that opportunity in Cleveland that was up for grabs, and he went all in.
And then he was choosing thoroughbreds to work for him, and he
never actually approached me directly. This was through another acquaintance that had reached out to me.
Okay.
Probably saw me as a young Boston guy, no kids, no, other than my family, right? But
yeah.
Pretty easy pickings, I guess.
Yeah.
I was honored, and I thought about it. I didn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it, to be honest. As I said to you, when I thought risk and reward, risk is I go out there, it doesn't work out. I can jump back in the U-Haul with my furniture and drive back.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change my life.
Yeah.
The reward, in my eyes, was endless.
Yeah.
And I would never look back.
Certainly turned out. Yeah.
Worked out well.
Well, what was it like making the transition from the Northeast to the Midwest? I mean, two different markets.
Two different markets. It's funny as I sit here and I look back and I think about when we first got there, as it wasn't only me, it was Bernie, and there was actually in total five or six of us that moved from Boston to go work under Bernie's leadership. So here we are, the 5 or 6 of us from Boston, Northeast, Midwest, never stepped foot in Ohio.
Yeah.
I remember at that time, my brothers are like, where are you going? I'm like, Cleveland. They're like, oh, yeah, the land of LeBron James.
Yeah. Right.
Which at that point, I was never really kind of in tune with, LeBron James, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, here we are in Cleveland. And what's funny is it's much more laid back and passive.
Mm-hmm.
And you're from the Northeast.
Yeah.
The folks from the Northeast, a little bit more
Yep.
vocal, move at a faster pace with a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And when we first got there, and here we are interacting with clients, they're like, wait, guys, slow down. One, you're talking too fast. Two, like, what's your agenda? Like, you guys, like, you're trying to pull something up. It's like, all right. It took us a while to really just take 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Slow it down.
Yeah.
So that was an adjustment, and not pronounce my ahs like that. It's funny when I listen to someone from Boston, I'm like, man, is that really what I sounded like? So I had to refine my speech
to fit the Midwest culture, right?
Yeah, I had to slow down. Don't pronounce my ahs like that. And everything worked out.
Does it come back when you go up north, when you go back to
because you feel like you got to be part of the, you got to be part of the circle, right?
Right.
They'll pick on you. They'll pick on you.
Right. Yeah, I remember hearing stories from my father, because when we moved here from Philly, this area was predominantly from the Midwest, because I-75 came from the Midwest, 95 came down from the Northeast, so they were on the East Coast, the Northeasterners, and Midwesterners were on this coast, which was, now it's more a bigger mix, a better mix of Northeast and Midwest. But he would say the difference was in the Northeast, or people from the Northeast, if they didn't like their haircut, they would tell them, "I don't like it. Fix it. This is not what I like."
Right.
And in Midwest, they might say, "Oh, it's fine. It's very
fine.
Nice."
Yeah.
And then they never come back.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's not so fine.
Right. Yeah. So that was something to get used to for sure. But
you know where you stand with someone from the Northeast, right?
100%.
And
yeah.
Some can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I being one of them.
I'll let you know. Yeah. Just no questions asked. This is where we are. Yeah. So that was a big adjustment to make. Weather-wise, not so much. Was it colder in Boston's pretty cold too. I mean, Cleveland.
Yeah. The difference, Cleveland, you have this this term that they call the lake effect. So when that weather, the snow comes in because of the lake. We were Northeast Ohio, so when the weather, that snow belt comes in, it sticks around for a while. It just goes in circles. So when the snow comes, it'll sit and linger for days, as opposed to in the Northeast, the nor'easters, as they used to call them, they would move in, drop a pile of snow, and then move on.
Okay. Yeah.
And in Ohio, the difference, in Cleveland anyway, is again, the snow just sits and lingers for days.
Yeah.
The other thing is very little sunshine during the winter months.
Yeah.
Which is brutal.
Yeah.
In the Northeast, it was, again, climate similar, but more sun in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Right? And who doesn't love the sun? You need that every once in a while.
After living down here.
That's why we live in Naples, right?
I know. Yeah.
So weather was predominantly, very similar outside of the gray skies and, snow that would just sit and linger.
And what's that like for a dealership with snow when you have cars that are outside?
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's, you talk to anybody up in the Northeast or, the climate where there's snow.
Yeah.
Cold weather. It's tough.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky to be here in sunny Naples, Florida.
Yeah. And when you get dumped on with snow, I mean, you
got to go out and clean them.
Got to clean them all, right?
Snow does, maybe it'll melt after, again, there's no sun. So the sun isn't melting the snow.
Yeah.
It takes a while. Then you get ice. That's even worse.
Oh, right.
The windshields are all covered in ice. So I remember when I had to break the news to my 3 children that we're moving from Ohio to Florida. And the first thing I said to them was, guys, and there's tears and they're crying. I said, you never got to put on a winter jacket anymore. Not that they were shoveling snow anyway, but
right.
You will see, you'll never have to deal with the snow anymore.
Yeah.
And for them, of course, they love it. Building snowmen, going sledding. Yeah, that's all fun. But you never got to put on a winter jacket, and you're going to have a pool.
Yeah.
And you can use the pool all year.
Yes.
It was, the
it's tears were 3 months. Right?
Tears were gone.
Moving near Mickey, moving near, So that was an easy sale then.
It was an easy sale.
Yeah. And that was COVID year.
Yeah. We, that was during COVID, and the dealership, the Ferrari store was at that time. We sold the company in 2019, late 2019. And I had worked under the new ownership who bought the dealership in Ohio. And then I had found out about the opportunity here in Naples. So in 2019, when we sold, I want to say late 2019, I think COVID was just kind of starting to make its way. And then in 2020, early 2020 is really when it hit full force. It was very unfortunate. We had a furlough, lots of people, and let people go. So here I am working for this new company. And then we had to deal with COVID. So,
and it was different there than Florida in terms of being able to be open, right?
I hadn't been to Florida. The dealership down here wasn't even at that time in early 2020, which we're talking January, February of 2020. That's actually when I had just found out about the Ferraris dealership opening here in Naples. So I had been to Naples previously, but this was all pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So wasn't really sure what was happening in Naples during the COVID or Florida in general. And then it wasn't until April, May of 2020 when I was told about the opportunity to come to Naples. I couldn't fly down. My wife and I couldn't fly down. But we had been here previously and we knew we loved the area. So we made the decision. We didn't really think too much about it. We said, one, it's COVID. Like, nobody was leaving the house.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the opportunity was just too good to pass up to move down here.
Yeah.
So we bought our house sight unseen.
Is that right? Really?
Enrolled our children into still two at St. Anne's. Great.
Oh, awesome.
Great parish, great school.
Yeah.
In fact, at that time, all three of my children went to St. Anne's. So, yeah, we did everything from afar. Wow. And it all worked out perfect.
And the dealership here didn't open up when you first moved here, or were they already open when you moved
No,
here?
they weren't open. So we were under construction. So when I decided to join the company, they had said that there was an opportunity to go and operate the Ferrari dealership in West Palm Beach. So under our rooftop, we have another sister store, a Ferrari Maserati dealership in West Palm Beach. So at that time, they had asked me to go and operate that dealership while the Naples dealership was under construction.
Oh, okay.
So we actually moved from Cleveland to West Palm Beach. And we're very grateful. We had a friend of ours who had a condo in Juno Beach, which was just kind of north of West Palm area, right on the water. It was beautiful. So we made the trip. We went from Cleveland to West Palm. We were living in Juneau. I was operating a dealership in West Palm Beach. Meanwhile, the Naples dealership was under construction. Our home was under construction. So I actually worked in West Palm from May through the end of the year, right around December.
And the dealership was able to be open that
we
year,
opened
right?
We actually officially opened in January of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you were working in West Palm, the dealership during that COVID year could be open. You were allowed to be open. Yeah, right. They didn't close down because hair salons closed in May. We were closed for 56 days. I remember that. And I don't remember how the other businesses opened
in
up.
2020.
In 2020, yeah.
Yeah, so the Naples location hadn't been open. I was worried that the construction was going to pause and that
right.
We had workers from all over the country here working.
Yeah, it's a beautiful deal. I mean, they did a phenomenal job. It's a beautiful building and everything.
Yeah, thank you. No,
first class.
They did a very, very nice job. It doesn't look like a typical car dealership.
Not at all. No,
more of like a museum.
Yeah.
And that was the intent. So, so we were open in West Palm. Everything was wide open while everybody else was under lockdown.
Yeah.
And I think that's what triggered most of that migration during that time, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I was so grateful to Ron DeSantis. I remember the day that he announced we had been closed for 54 days, and he announced on a Friday, it was my wife's birthday, May 8th, that he said, on Monday, the 10th, you can open back up again as hair salons. And there were no restrictions. It was up to each individual. It was up to us to decide how we wanted to do it our way, rather than saying you have to do it this way. And so it was, we were blessed to be here, as everybody was. That's what caused everybody to come here, because we could make our own minds up and determine how it was going to go and how we were going to operate. So forever grateful for that, because I still know so many salon owners around the country that were stuck in states that kept them closed for so long that they ended up closing, losing all their staff. And, you know, we were closed just enough time. We got a PPP loan, and we were closed for just the number of weeks that the PPP loan covered everybody. So we didn't have to lay anybody off. We were lucky to have that, and just to be in beautiful Florida. So that worked out good for us too, you know, as well as the people coming here, getting a lot more from the Northeast, and people saying they've had enough of it up there, and they're between the taxes and the lack of sunshine and the cold and the, you know, all those things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. We're very, very, very grateful and very lucky to be down here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a gift for our area to get your family down here too. So we were blessed to have you guys come here.
Yeah. The community's been arms wide open, and yeah, we do love it. We do love it down here. When I look back, you know, the first year and a half, you know, I remember, you know, I'm working, and my wife and my 3 little children, we just literally uprooted them and brought them down here.
Yeah.
You know, my life really hadn't changed much. I was still working, and she's at home with the kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was some time there within that first year and a half. It was very touch and go. I thought at one point we were going back to Ohio because my wife was a little homesick.
Yeah.
But that didn't last long. We've met some great families. You know, we have some great friends. You know, and that's what life's all about.
Yeah.
It's all about, you can be in a beautiful place here like Naples, Florida, but without the proper surroundings, you know, your connections and things like that, you know, a beautiful place could, you know, that could wear on you after a while when you don't have anybody around you. So yeah. So we're very, very grateful for the friends and for the community at large.
And your wife's family's Ohio or Boston?
My wife's family's from Ohio.
Okay, so you guys met
she's
there.
born and raised in Ohio. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we met there, and we raised our 3 children, and so 5. We moved them down here. We had 8 and 9-year-olds.
Did you say you have twins, younger twins?
Twins,
right?
yeah. I got boy, girl, twin, and then I have a daughter.
Is that run in the family, or how
No, it doesn't run in the
It was a
family. Just
surprise to
kind
you
of
when it happened.
surprise. Yeah. So my oldest daughter, Gianna, she's freshman at St. John Newman, and then our twins are middle schoolers at St. Anne's.
Oh wow!
So I feel like we moved them down at the right age.
Yeah,
we were right on the cusp there of, you know, maybe they felt left out, or you know, they were leaving all their friends, and you know, it's great to see here we are almost 5 years later. They're still in contact with their friends. When we go to Cleveland, they reunite with their friends.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're great kids.
And your wife's family there, so do they have cousins there too from that
Yes,
area?
my wife's entire family, they're all in Cleveland.
Okay.
And then quite frankly, that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
It wasn't leaving, you know, the doom and gloom of Ohio.
Yeah.
The snow. It was, again, it's all about people.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about people. So leaving her family behind, that was tough.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are. And we can hop on a plane. You fly direct Frontier out of Fort Myers. I think the easiest airport to fly in and out of Fort Myers. Easier than Cleveland.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Cleveland's out in the tumbleweeds, but it's actually a busier airport than Fort Myers. So hop on a flight, you're there in 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't want to go this time of year, I guess, right? You just want to stay away from there in February or March. It's cold there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the spring, although
okay.
I think
they call it spring.
They're getting hit.
Probably
the Midwest is getting hit today with a snowstorm.
Are
from
they
what
really?
I saw. Yeah, so you never know. That's the thing. It's like, you know, over there, your summers they're short-lived. Spring is, you know, late March, but they're still getting hit with a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Maybe even in April, if not May.
Well, that lake effect, right?
That lake effect. It's brutal. Brutal.
So what was it like making the transition from, so always a luxury high-end brand, but making the transition from Mercedes to Ferrari? Did you work in some other brands other than Mercedes when you were with?
Yeah, we had all Highland brands. We had Aston Martin, Porsche, Rolls-Royce, Maserati. And so making the transition to Ferrari, learning the brand was probably the biggest challenge.
Because it's a whole culture.
Yeah, they operate very different than the brands that I represented previously. But the transition was easy because, pardon me, you know, we built our business around people. and teams, winning teams, and pardon me, may sound cliche, but having a vision, a mission statement. And so going back to, how we started the conversation about having a foundation and being faith-based and building a business, it should be no different. How do you build a foundation? You got to have a vision, and then you build your team around that. And so as much as it was, yes, a huge transition from most of my time in Ohio was spent running a large Mercedes dealership, to now a much smaller, more boutique-like brand, Ferrari. But I took the same principles, which is we're going to build a team, we're going to set a mission, a vision, and that's what we're going to do. And regardless of what brand you represent, that's the core. And because to me, the brand's secondary, the cars are secondary, probably no different than what you do really, really well here. I can say it's your people. I can feel it when I walk in the door. The end result is I'm going to walk out with a nice haircut. That I know. Dave does a great job. Yeah. But it's from the early interaction with your, kind young lady who offered me an espresso this morning. And so again, it's, to me, those are the important things. And that's what makes businesses successful. Are the people. So the transition, I guess, was easy because I was sticking to the recipe that I know. That made us successful in Ohio. And I'm going to just basically do the exact same thing. It doesn't need to be that. It's not that complicated. I think people just overcomplicate it. But not everybody's into people and serving people and really building a business around a team.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's well, from what I see, it's more of a, from what you've built and what that brand builds, and maybe other brands too, but what I see, it's more of like an experience for somebody. I was watching you interact with, I don't know if he's a current customer or possible.
He's a customer of ours. Just, is that right? Kind of by coincidence, bumped into him this morning. Yeah, and there was a genuine relationship there that I could see that was different than just you sold him a car, but it was like community, like neighbors. I don't know. You had a different kind of relationship than just a customer. It was interesting to see, because who would have thought, 9:00 this morning, that you would run into somebody here and you guys are talking about his car, what he's looking for. I don't even know what the conversation was. But I heard you saw the relationship. Yeah, it's funny when I think about myself. My kids ask me, "Dad, what do you do for work?" I'm like, "I'm a car salesman." How much lower does it get than that? But as I instill, hopefully these are things that they'll carry on. Is about being kind to people, again, listening to people, being a great communicator, and serving people. That's a really awesome that's thing. At the end of the day what I do. We have an actual vision statement. I have these little vision statements that I've made up for my team. Any new hire that comes in, they need to know that vision statement by heart before they walk in the door. So early interviews. And in short, at the very end of our mission statement is to build and forge lifelong relationships. That's the end of my vision statement. And so everything we do in the dealership is all about forging or building and forging relationships. So we have an actual vision statement, and then we actually have, think of the 10 commandments. So I took the concept, which has a negative connotation to it, right? Thou shalt not steal. Right. So reverse that into a positive. Our first is thou shalt have fun. That's our very first commandment. Thou shalt love thy product. We have actually 12. I added 2 more. But anyway, without getting into all the details, that's essentially, that's the culture at Ferrari of Naples. That's the culture we built in Cleveland. We took the dealership that we acquired back in Ohio was actually on the verge of shutdown in May of 2005, when I made the trip with Bernie and 4 or 5 others, we took over a dealership that was literally, they were going to shut the doors down.
Mm. Wow.
And Bernie bought it. And we said, we're going to make this the best car dealership in the world.
Mm.
Right? It's about just setting a massive expectation.
Yeah.
And that dealership today, I've now been gone for 20 years. And it's actually not in Cleveland. It's in a suburb of Cleveland called North Olmsted, Ohio, which is 15 miles west of the city in a small little town. That dealership today is the largest selling luxury retailer in the Midwest.
Wow. Wow.
And so when I look back and I say there was no silver lining.
Yeah.
It was about, again, going back to having a North Star, having a foundation, and then building everything around that.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's what I brought here to Naples.
Yeah.
And here we are 4 years later, soon to be 5. And we actually, last year in 2024, Ferrari of Naples was recognized as the, so they have what they call Tessterosa. I think anybody that's familiar with Ferraris knows the Tessterosa is the iconic model within Ferrari. So the manufacturer awards dealerships with Tessterosa awards. And those Tessterosa awards, there's different categories. One being the pre-owned, as a Tessterosa pre-owned manager. So it's a global recognition, Tessterosa award for the pre-owned manager. And there's many variables that go into becoming the Tessterosa award winner. Mm-hmm. We won that in 2024. Wow. So we were awarded, Ferrari of Naples, the pre-owned Tessterosa award in 2024, which is a global recognition.
Oh wow. Not just U.S.
Not just U.S. So worldwide.
Wow.
So we were recognized, and my team just has embraced all the ingredients that I've put out there. These are the ingredients team.
Yeah.
Let's go build it. Let's go build it. This is how we're going to build it. And they made it happen. So it's a pretty impressive victory.
Yeah. That's a testament to something, because I think what you were saying, I find it really interesting because your team went into Ohio and you represented the same brand that was almost out of business in the area. And it was the same brand, but turned it completely around into being number 1 in the region with the same brand. So that's clearly a testament to the operations and the team that took what was already there and not doing well and took the same thing and turned it into that.
Yeah,
so
it's about building a vision and just the old, it's not what you say, it's how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, because I thought this conversation would be more about the car. And I completely get now who you are and what's different about you and the way you work is that it's kind of like what we say here. And it reminded me a lot of that because, we do haircuts. Yeah, that's what we do. We cut hair. But we're more than that. We have to be more than that. We have to give people an experience that has them want to become.
Right. As I'm walking in here, I look over and I look to my right as I'm across the street, and there's a salon 2-3 doors down.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, there's a salon there, and then there's Rob's like right next door.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, and you're sitting there, you've never stepped foot into either one. You're gonna go to the right or to the left.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then it's okay. I'm going to the left. How did they make me feel when I went in there? And then maybe perhaps that person leaves and says, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you got to get a haircut every 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So 4 weeks later, I'm going to go to the right. Maybe I didn't have such a great experience.
Sure.
Yeah. Or I did. And you know what? Sometimes people just want to shop, right?
Yeah.
So now I got to go that way. How do they make me feel?
Yeah.
The end result, I would think most stylists are going to cut the hair the same.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some variances.
Of course. Yeah.
When I think about my wife who, Dave cuts her hair. You know, she always talks about her interactions with Dave, and she has a connection with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sure for the listeners, you know, you hear this all the time. It's about the connections. It's about the people, but it needs to be real and it needs to be genuine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, because you can walk into a place and they say it, but do you really feel it?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It can be a moniker on a wall. And, you know, like we always talk about, like, do you want fries with that comment that they give you at McDonald's all the time or whatever? It's not an authentic statement. It's something they have to say.
Right.
It doesn't come from their heart. They genuinely, you probably already ordered fries, but they have to say it anyway.
They have to say it. They're like robots. Yeah.
Right. There's no authenticity.
And people who appreciate that genuine relationship can see right through that kind of stuff.
Yes.
You know, so I pride myself on, and I give all this credit to my parents who raised me the way they did.
Yeah.
About integrity, respect, you know, transparency. And so it's in my core. And so I make sure that I build my team with those that are like me.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm sure as a business owner, you realize you think people, they kind of feed you the line that they're, that's me, I'm ready. And then you realize, no, you're really not like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so the old actions speak louder than words. And I think that is really what our team is all about.
Yeah.
At Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and there's a line I like to use where I say, take ordinary and make everything that is ordinary extraordinary. The littlest things, right?
Yeah.
Someone's coming to pick up their car. You can hand them the keys, hand them the manuals, show them how things go or operate, and then see you later. Versus, let's make it an event. Let's make it special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there was a video of I forget what the color was called, but it was like a blue, but it was called something different. You had a cover on it, and you pulled the cover off for the new owner. It was a beautiful car, but it was an experience that person was getting. It wasn't just you're coming to pick up a car.
It's the little things too, right?
Yeah.
It's the littlest things.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say in luxury, and it should be, quite frankly, in any business.
Yeah.
It's all about how well you can manage all the millions and millions of details that go into the execution of whatever it is that you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
And so,
yeah, down to the littlest thing, like, you know, we can cheat. We know when somebody's coming in. We know that there's a 10 o'clock appointment coming in. And, you know, instead of sitting back in the back room waiting for somebody to come back and say, hey, your 10 o'clock is here. You know, why can't we be out front waiting for them, you know, at the front door with their cappuccino, espresso?
You actually, and it was brilliant what you did. As I was talking to that gentleman waiting for my espresso. So the young lady there offered me an espresso. She was going to get the cup, the standard cup by the espresso machine. You said no. Now, whether or not you had a special cup for me,
yes,
I don't know, but I'll tell you, it sounded really good. He goes, no, I actually have a special cup for him. And she came and brought me the special espresso cup.
Yes.
And then here we are, I'm having a conversation with, coincidentally, happened to be a client of ours.
Yeah.
You had never met him. You knew he wanted an espresso, and you were quick and you said, nope, I actually have a special cup for him as well.
Yes.
And those are the things that, hey, look, as little as it may seem, or I would say him leaving, I certainly felt good that I had my own special cup.
Yeah.
So
well,
kudos to you.
Well, thanks.
And I know that's why what's made you successful.
Well, thank you. You know, you pointed to something earlier too, and, you know, in your upbringing and in our Italian heritage, you know, my father, who started this company many years ago, and my mother worked here as well. It was like a cocktail party. It was no different than when they had a party at the house, because we always had people at the house. And in the Italian family, it was just everything was an event around food, and they were always serving people. we always had random people at every holiday who I had no clue who they were, but they always invited people who didn't have a family, a place to
You
go
had no
to.
idea who these people were, right?
Every
Just
year
random
was
strangers.
different people.
My parents, the same thing.
Yes.
It's like, who is this person? Well, I just met him last week, but we're going to feed him and
That's right.
we serve him some alcohol. And
That's right. It was always that way every year. I just never knew who was going to be there, and there was always somebody different. And it was our job to make sure they had a great time and they enjoyed themselves, and it didn't matter.
let me tell you, those people keep coming back, don't they?
Oh, 100%.
In business, it should be no different.
Yeah, that was it completely. It was just like, we're serving. And, you talked about that was who you were and, who you are and what got you into that. And it wasn't ever about the cars was secondary. The first part was
Yeah, and I
just
love
being
the cars.
service.
Look, there's something to be said for for someone who's never driven a Ferrari. You just got to get in it. You can't even explain it. It's just, you just got to get in it and listen to it and the feeling you get and everything else. But leading up to that, it's all these little things that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Because the one phone call that comes through, you don't answer it right away. The young lady or young man on the phone isn't pleasant. What's sad is when you think about it is these manufacturers, in my case, you have a brand like Ferrari who makes incredible vehicles. And all it takes is one person to fumble the littlest thing. And you think about all the time and energy, R&D that goes into making this car. And all it takes is one person to fumble something.
Yeah.
And everything else, nothing else matters.
Yeah. Destroys everything.
Everything.
Or throws it all out the window. Yeah. Yeah. I see that on, I catch myself reading those Facebook food groups, restaurant groups, and there's always somebody on there blasting a good restaurant because some girl at the front was inappropriate or said something that was not nice to somebody. They weren't thinking.
Yeah.
And it ruins the whole experience for the people. And then they write this book about everything else because it taints the rest of the visit.
Right. And think about everybody else that reads that same review.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of that. I love eating. I love going to restaurants, trying out different restaurants. The first thing, like my wife, anytime she talks about or anyone talks about wanting to go to a restaurant or where's the pizza spot, I'm like, you know what? I got it. I will find the spot. And what I do, I just go on a Google, right? And you look at the reviews.
Sure. Yeah.
You just start reading the reviews. The first thing you do is you want to look for somebody that's 5 or upper 4s and then how many reviews, right?
Yeah.
Is it just 1 or 2 people or is there a following there of good or bad?
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to get some bad. You're going to get some negative feedback. And I'm open to it, by the way. I love negative feedback.
100%.
Bring it. Give it to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please
tell me, right?
Please tell me.
Know, right?
I have, and we're so fortunate to have the clients that we have, especially our clientele, business owners themselves. They're successful. And quite frankly, most of them, in fact, I would say all of them, they are so willing to 1, share their success stories and 2, share their faults and critique you. I actually ask them. I jump on the phone with customers and I say, I don't want to know about the good things. Give me the bad and the ugly. And we train on that.
Yeah. So many are afraid to hear that. They just trying to avoid it. They just don't want to. They just don't want to look at it. It's like that's like, oh, they write it off so quickly as, oh, they're just XYZ, or they're just they don't
always
really
find
hear
an
it.
excuse.
Yeah. To blame it on.
And
something
you can't
else,
please everyone, but you know what? You want those people that are very difficult. Those are the folks that keep you on your A game.
Sure. They
Otherwise,
make you better.
Just get complacent.
Yeah, 100%. They make you better. They there's those ones that make you a little nervous sometimes, but at the same time, they keep you on your toes, like you say, and they keep it. Some of our biggest breakthroughs come from some of our biggest breakdowns, our biggest failures. These things that we have that go wrong, that where we messed up, and we figure out we got to make some changes. We always got to continue to evolve and change. And COVID and we have hurricanes and recessions and all the things that we have to deal with here that over time. We have to be willing to make changes and be different. And I don't know ever, just because we've been in it a while for our business, I know that today we're not going to be the same as we were yesterday, and tomorrow we're not going to be the same as we were.
And you
today,
don't want to be, right? You want to be able to feel like
No.
you're growing.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, and evolve just as a human being, and do the team around me. I mean, I know that they'll stick around longer if I make sure that they grow financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, professionally. If I keep them growing and stretching in all ways, they won't want to go anywhere else. They'll want to be here as long as they can continue to grow here. So,
People work for a purpose. When I sit and talk to my team and I ask them, let's be honest with ourselves. What do we love the most about our business? Unanimously, it's about the people. It's the customers.
Yeah.
Yes, I think there's no doubt there's a level of cachet that comes with saying I work for Ferrari. But after a while, that could wear off.
Yeah. Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And when you really ask and you get in their hearts and you say, tell me what you love the most about working here. It's my team and the customers that we serve. So, you know, we've spent a lot of time talking about that, but if there's anything that...
No, that's what it all is. I mean, I think that really...
and even outside of work, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Just in general, just life. Yeah. You know, you get to the end, it's like, who are you surrounded with? Who's next to you? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of the things, how you and I met through Stefan, that he's always got this great circle of people around him. Everybody I've ever met that he's introduced me to is just good human, good soul. And, you know, when you have that circle of positivity, good energy, good people, the right people doing the right things. I mean, that's why we do the podcast.
The whole genesis behind the podcast, right?
100%. A spotlight on good people, good humans in our community, good people. And that's, you know, that's the gift when I get to spend time with somebody like yourself who has the value structure, the belief system, the integrity to be who you are and to do life the way you do life. I mean, that fills my life up. It fills Zach's life up, and you know, we get
Zach's the man, by the way.
He is, right? He is. Yeah,
he's Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Free what? Free stories. Free stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're blessed to have him, but he's another good soul. But just, you know, having these good, and David, and you know, we just having the right people, and Stefan, I will always honor and love, because he has introduced me to some great people, and he continues to do that too. But I remember the first time we met, I thought, well, there's somebody who's going to give Stefan a little bit of competition with how he dresses, because he's impeccable dress. Like, yeah, you got to go.
You know, I envy this attire though, yours, because I got to do this every day. It's like I'm on stage every day.
Yeah.
You see me on the weekends. No, there's no. I am dressed down.
Yeah, but you do it well. You got it going on well, because I was like, he's got a little competition there, so yeah, going good. What is the not being? So I was talking to a friend of mine last night, really good friend of mine, who we had dinner at Gumbo Limbo last night, which was beautiful.
Great spot.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So
it's funny you say Gumbo Limbo. When I look back, my wife and I, this is before we moved down there. Sorry to be story beater here. I'm just going to
love it. That's what it is.
But for those listening, maybe you've never been to Naples and you're just looking for maybe the hook.
Yeah.
You're contemplating, you want to move to Naples, or you're not really sure. Go to Gumbo Limbo.
Yeah.
Not only are you on a beautiful Ritz property, but you literally have great food. You're sitting on the beach.
Yes. So beautiful.
Looking out of the bay, enjoying great food. And I just remember my wife and I, when we came down here, and we're sitting there, this was many years ago, and we're sitting at Gumbo Limbo, just looking out and eating. And I think I picked up the phone and called a friend of mine who I'd worked with. And I said, why do we work in Cleveland? Naples is absolutely beautiful. Anyway, it's probably a little long overdue that story, but nonetheless, great spot. By the way.
It's
still there.
It is. Yeah. Oh no, it is. It reminded me. You know, I live here, and we were there last night saying we live here. This is where we live.
Right.
You know, it was so beautiful. I mean, last night was just the right temperature, the sun, the people there. It was beautiful. The food was great. The company was great. It was awesome. And then I knew I was coming to talk to you today, and he's a car enthusiast. And I said, he said, well, Ferrari's out of my league, but I've always had this intrigue about.
But
is
they're really not for
Yeah?
those listening.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
Oh, we have some crafty little acquisition proposals we can put together.
Is that right?
Sorry to
it's not-
interject.
no,
I got to make sure
no,
I got to
no.
drop that hint.
No, because who is it that car for? Is it for? Now he's an enthusiast. He's a passion. I mean, he invests in his cars, but for some reason he had this. The one car he told me about that he's been in love with since he was a child was the F40. Is that the one that everybody?
Yeah.
Is that one of the big ones?
It's one of the quintessential. There's the F40. There's the F50.
Yeah. And what is the process to? Because there was only 1,300 of those made, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever the production numbers that are truly accurate.
Okay.
But those are not readily available anymore, other
Yeah.
than on the secondary market.
Uh-huh.
There's now what they call the F80, which is that was just actually introduced late last year. And so you have 40th anniversary, 50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you have the F80.
Okay. So what is the process like to buy a Ferrari? Different, because it's not the same as buying a car off the street, right? It's different.
No, actually, most people, there is this, misconception that you can't just get a Ferrari, a new one. And that's actually not true. There are certain models, our range models, that anyone off the street can get one.
Hmm.
Where it gets a little tricky is that you only get so many. So the dealership might see 7 or 8 new Ferraris a month coming in. They're all pre-ordered. They take anywhere from 2 to 3 years to come in. So we only get allocated a certain amount of cars. So that becomes part of the challenge, where when somebody might come in, they're not readily available.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, those all new Ferraris, for the exception of, like I mentioned, the F80. So there are certain limited series cars. So we're talking limited production cars
Mm-hmm.
that are only given to those true Ferrari ambassadors. So what defines the ambassador? The ambassador is someone that's been with the brand for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are they collectors, they might be into racing. Ferrari actually has their own racing circuit.
Mm.
We're not talking Formula One. We're talking ladies and gentlemen racing against ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many different, it's not just cars. There's the Ferrari lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
that clients can get involved in. And so those that have been around the brand that participate in all those various activities in the cars generally get those limited series cars.
Mm.
So there is that component where not
Mhm.
just anyone can get a limited series Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Now and we're going back to the earlier conversation, we're very active in the pre-owned world. So there are many sought after cars like an F40 or an F50 or a LaFerrari, for example, that they no longer make new ones, but we have the ability to find pre-owned vehicles.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
scour all over the world. So for anyone looking for a very unique Ferrari, like those that I mentioned, we do have the ability to source those.
Mm. A friend of mine who I work out with at the gym was going through this. He's always had it in his heart to have a Ferrari, and he started looking a couple years ago. I think he met you. You talking to me about it at the gym, and when his wife, or soon-to-be wife, found out that he was looking at that car, she put the squash on it. She wasn't too happy about him and his abilities in a car like that. She was worried about him wandering off because he looks too good in a Ferrari. And his experience. So he didn't end up buying, but he met you. Spiros is his name, Greek guy. And, he just had a great time with you, had a great time meeting you, talking to you, the whole experience. Like he knew you right away. He didn't end up getting one yet, but
Yeah,
what
he had one, right?
I think in his lifetime he has
Yeah,
had
he
one.
had one.
Yeah. He whatever one he was looking at wasn't available right away where he was going to, but you had offered him, I think there's something he said, you had offered him something else in the meantime until the car he wanted was available or something, which I thought was interesting because it was like you had a backup plan for him. And to get him into the car that he wanted, but you had something else for him.
You know, it's funny when I think about this. Who needs a Ferrari? No one needs a Ferrari, right? You wake up one day and there's this emotion that there's one guy on the right side telling you, I just need one because I want one.
Yeah, right.
Then there's a guy on the left-hand side saying, you don't need one. You need one like a hole in the head. So it's funny when we think about these clients that come in and they're willing to wait. Those that are the true passionistas, as we call them, are willing to wait for new ones.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just natural to say, hey, how about let's look for one now.
Mm-hmm.
Or as we like to use the bridge car, find a bridge car.
Okay,
because you want to satisfy those emotions that are coming at you today, saying, I want one, I need one. Okay, how about this right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because very easy, the guy on the left could talk you out of it.
Yeah.
You wait 3 years? Who wants to wait for one? Nobody wants to wait for one.
Especially when it's in the heart right there, you're ready.
So it's like, we have a very diverse selection of pre-owned, very hand-selected, pre-owned Ferraris. Quite frankly, any kind of car. We sell Porsches, Lamborghinis, McLarens, anything within the exotic circle.
Wow.
We sell.
Okay.
So of course, we always want to offer up the now.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking this morning, I was like, gosh, this, because there's so much emotion behind hearing and seeing a Ferrari on the road. I mean, just the sound of one and just seeing one, it's just such an eye catcher always, just immediately. I was like, oh, we're going to go talk in the laundry room at the salon instead of it would be so cool to do this inside of a Ferrari or inside the dealership, because your dealership is
our next one, next episode.
Yeah. And we got to get Zach, you got to do some great B-roll up there.
Come on, Zach, you got to step up your game.
Yeah, so you got to put some beautiful cars on the B-roll in this and some footage from up there, which will be really neat. But I think of the emotional experience it's got to be when somebody sits in one of those and just feels the vibration of that car. I have a Tesla, and my wife calls me a turtle. I'm not a fast driver.
I think Stefan rubbed off on you, didn't he?
He got rid of it.
he had one.
Yeah, he did. I know. He got rid of it. He ended up with, what's he got now?
Well, he actually came to us.
Cars.
He came to us. He traded in his Tesla.
Oh, is that right?
He bought a Bentley.
That's his car. That's right. Yeah, I was surprised because I saw
Not
he had a
sure. I
Tesla.
haven't seen him in a while. So, Stefan, if you're listening, I hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, right.
But our brand is actually more of it's a luxury product.
Yeah.
There's cars, but we have people that come from all over the world that come into our dealership that just want to buy a hat. They want to buy a Ferrari pin.
Oh yeah.
They want to buy something with the Ferrari insignia on it.
Yeah.
So our brand is much more just the cars. We are a luxury brand.
Yeah.
So whether you're driving the car, you're wearing a Ferrari cap, Ferrari shirt, it's just the feeling, right?
Sure.
I feel good wearing my shirt, my hat.
Yeah.
Certainly driving in the car.
Yeah.
I always kind of think of like a Harley Davidson. How many guys wear Harley shirts or the chaps?
Yeah.
They may not even drive a motorcycle.
Right.
They just love being associated with the brand.
Yeah.
And that's what Ferrari's all about.
Yes. That luxury Italian brand and way. Yeah. So is there a culture or a way around Lamborghini the way there is around Ferrari? Does Ferrari kind of have a better
Well, we have much more history.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
When you think of Ferrari, most people associate the brand with F1 racing.
Yes.
And the passion comes from racing.
Mm. Okay.
If you go on and you watch a Formula One race, just look at all the Italian flags. The whole country shuts down, right? It's like it's a big to do.
Yeah.
You don't see that. No disrespect to Lamborghini, but you don't see that with Lamborghini.
Yeah.
So, so Ferrari just has the history, a lot of it coming from their racing history. That's their DNA.
Yeah.
And for those that haven't watched, really, the latest Ferrari movie is a great one, although that's more about Enzo's story. Then there's also Formula One, the series. Every once in a while, depending on time, where the races are, we'll play them. But the best movie probably is Ford versus Ferrari, if you want to get a real sense of the history of Ferrari. But there's the Formula One series are great to watch too, because you really get, I was never really a Formula One guy until I, quite frankly, joined Ferrari. And it is pretty remarkable. Again, I represented luxury brands, but there really isn't anything like driving a Ferrari. And again, it has nothing to do with now the looks. They are pieces of art.
Yes.
It's just the feeling you get when you drive one of these things. Like you said, the sound, the speed is just absolutely incredible. The way the car handles at those speeds. And you smile ear to ear. Like there's just like when people say, that's why like I can't describe it. And anybody that comes in that's really interested in driving, you just got to get in the car.
Yeah. That's cool. It makes me want to, it's like it reminds me of going to Disney World as a kid, like, get excited about, what it must be like for somebody to own one, like when they get to drive it for the week, on whatever days they drive it. Like it's
Enzo Ferrari really evolved. Enzo Ferrari, our founder, who was an engineer by trade, who was building race cars. And in order for him to actually run his racing team, he needed money. So he built road cars. And that's really how Ferrari evolved.
Oh, wow.
He was big into racing and was a mastermind with building high-powered engines and putting them on the track, and was super successful. But then there came a point where he needed more money. And so he started building road cars.
Oh, okay.
And here we are today.
Wow.
Our cars on the road are race cars. The DNA behind the nuts and bolts of a Ferrari road car is all the technology, the passion that comes from Formula One is now infused in a road car.
Oh, okay.
So it's, from sitting inside the car, the steering wheel and watching how the revs, we have all the revs on the steering wheel. There's different settings, and I guess I'll end there. So for those that are interested, you got to just come experience. You don't want to hear me talk anymore. I think I've been talking for about an hour and a half now. So
no, I love it. I saw even on the website they have coaching for driving, right? Or they have a
we have classes. So part of, again, the Ferrari lifestyle of the cars. There's all the events. When you're a client, you're invited to some very, very exclusive events all over the world. Then there's the element of racing. Of course, that's our DNA. So Ferrari has certain programs like the Ferrari race classes that one can pay. You would pay to join or take a class. There's several classes. They're held all over the country. And rather than use your car, you would pay to use one of Ferrari North America's cars.
Wow.
So they set up at various tracks all over the country. And you would go and sign up for one of these classes, and you get to drive a Ferrari road car on a racetrack with a professional instructor.
Wow.
And we have a lot of our clients that are new to brand, that have never stepped foot in a Ferrari, will actually go and sign up for one of the race classes. And then that's how they get the bug. They get hooked.
Yeah. It hits them, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's one thing to drive them on Interstate 41.
Yeah.
And then there's another thing to actually put it on a racetrack.
Yeah. It really
you have a whole nother level of appreciation for what these cars are capable of doing.
That's so cool. Wow. Love it. Well, I'm looking forward to, I might have to go with you when you go up there.
I'm trading that Tesla. The pendulum will swing in the complete opposite direction.
Well, it's my father-in-law, my late father-in-law.
Although we make hybrids and soon to be electric.
Yeah.
Actually,
I
we
was
have
ask
our,
you about that.
Ferrari will announce their first ever electric car later this year. But over the past several years, we do have a mild hybrid that we offer, which is just absolutely extraordinary. The amount of power that those electric motors put out, it's incredible.
Well, my father-in-law would say one of the things that was missing, though, was the rumble. That's what he didn't like about my Tesla. He's like, well, yeah, it's fast, but it's missing that.
The emotion.
Yes.
The emotion, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Tesla, you don't hear anything. It's just like a catapult. It just throws you forward.
Right.
The Ferrari does the exact same thing, but you feel it, hear it, and it just runs right through your body.
Yeah. That's the missing. That's what's different about it. And it's not the same. That's how we always talked about it too. Well, I have some rapid fire.
Oh, here we go.
So we talked about food some too. So, and you've lived in some great food areas. So, in terms of favorite restaurants, start with Naples.
Ooh, that's a tough one. A favorite restaurant in Naples. I would say if somebody asked me, I love Italian food.
Mm.
And by the way, I don't know, you're Italian, so I don't know if you call it sauce or if you call it.
I'm from the gravy.
The gravy. So in Philly, they call it. So,
yeah.
But I will not, Laura, if you're listening, your sauce is the best. Second choice.
So she makes the original sauce.
She's got the original sauce, probably passed down from her. Certainly, I know her grandmother, but
no kidding. Oh wow!
But and
meatballs. Does she do meatballs?
Not meatballs, chicken cutlets. She does actually meatballs, but she does her sauce has actually she infuses some sausage and ribs in there.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh!
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, her sauce is legit.
So we have to talk about.
Or maybe next time you see Laura, maybe you guys have a look. That instead of paying for a haircut, she'll just bring you a tub of sauce.
It's done deal.
But no, I guess just my love for Italian food, just red sauce and pasta. You know, the first restaurant that comes to mind for me would be Molto.
Mm. And what's your favorite there? What do you like to order there? Molto?
You know, start with a little pizza. I love pizza.
Mm.
That's my cheat meal.
Mm.
And I eat pretty healthy throughout the week, but my clutch.
Your comfort food.
My comfort food, I'd say, would start with maybe some pizza. Yeah. But any of their pastas. I love seafood. Mm-hmm. So I think they have one that's like a spicy sauce with some, probably some shrimp or some shellfish of some sort. But
nice.
That would be my go-to.
Okay. How about in Boston?
Ooh, I haven't been home recently.
Yeah.
But if I were to go to the North End, I'm sure, and by name, just not registering right now, but I'd say there's
hard to go wrong at a lot
hard
of places.
To go wrong to go to the North End.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great restaurants.
Yeah.
And we're talking Boston proper, but there's restaurants, great restaurants all over. But I would go to the North End. And quite frankly, I don't know that there's many spots that are not going to make someone happy.
Yeah.
They're going to deliver all of them.
Yeah.
So.
And when you went to Cleveland, obviously was your family's, your wife's family was the number one, but was there a restaurant?
There's Johnny's, Laura's, my bride's good friends, family friends started 2 Italian restaurants. There's 2 actually locations in Cleveland called Johnny's.
Okay.
And so I'd say Johnny's would be my go-to spot.
All right.
In Cleveland.
I haven't ever been, but when I go,
a lot of history.
Yeah.
They've been around for years.
Okay. Johnny's.
Okay. There's Johnny's on Fulton and Johnny's on 9th Street.
Those are in the city or outside?
Yeah. One's in downtown and the other one's just kind of on the outskirts.
Favorite part of being a dad?
Just being their go-to and just loving them. Like that's a tough one. I love being their like role model. Like I just want to be the one that sets the example for them and just provide them with unconditional love and support, and just, you got to be tough on them and discipline them, but just my satisfaction is molding these kids to just be great members of society. And we're having so much fun at their age right now. We got middle schoolers and a freshman, growing up and they're babies and toddlers. Like it's hard to, more so I think for a dad to relate because they're so attached to their mom.
Of course.
But if I think back the last few years and the impact that I think I'm having on them just makes me feel great. And that's just molding them to be good humans.
Yeah. It shows.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hear people that, they're little hellions when they're around the 2 of us at home. But there's, when they're out with friends or they're with their, parents, friends' parents, and then just getting that feedback that your kids are so polite and they're just great kids. Like that's just music to my ears.
What was your first car?
My first car was a Honda Civic hatchback. with a rolled back odometer that I think I bought at the auction for $1,500. And here we are in Naples, and my daughter, who's now has her permits, like, yeah, well, I want my first car to be, a G-Wagon.
Of course,
It's
in
like,
Naples,
kid,
right?
Nah, you got a lot. Let me tell you. Let me show you a picture of my blue Honda Civic that had a rolled back odometer.
What would be playing in your car? Music, podcast, or silence when you?
I'm a big listener to podcasts and just the law of attraction. So I'd say you're probably going to find a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And there's quite a few. Ed Mylett is one. I love listening to him.
Yeah. Yeah, Stefan turned me on him. Actually, we went to see him in Fort Myers.
Oh, in Fort Myers,
I had a ticket with him. It was awesome.
Yeah, he's a
great
good
experience.
human being.
He's really good. Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually listened, there's another one, it's called All In. And this is more of, it's a business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Listen to that too as
All
well.
In podcast.
Yeah.
With Dave
Learn a lot from them.
Friedberg and those guys. That's a
and
great.
the one Sachs who just went to be on the administration.
He's over in DC with Marino.
Yeah. That's
and
cool.
otherwise, I do, I've grown to love, and I think maybe it's that Midwestern thing in Ohio. When I used to listen to, in Boston, right, as a kid, you're listening to techno music, going to clubs. I moved to Ohio, slows me down a little bit. I do love country music.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love on a Sunday when it's my day to chill, just put on a little Morgan Wallen or.
Yeah. I've grown to appreciate country. I didn't early in life, but later in life, I appreciate it. I on Sundays, we do this workout at the CrossFit gym. And the guy who creates the WODs will sometimes put on a country playlist, and it fits. Something about it. I've grown to really.
And let's face it. I mean, I don't know if you have younger kids like I do, but my kids take hostage of the of my phone that's connected to my Apple CarPlay, and they're rolling through Spotify, so they won't listen to podcasts. They think I'm old and it's boring. So, they're putting on their stuff. But they actually they like the Morgan Wallen. My daughter, who I drive every morning to school, she's good with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
you drive her to school every morning. It's just the two of you. Then.
Yeah. So my wife, who takes on a brunt of the duties at home.
Yeah.
And she's a saint. Rock. She's the best.
Yeah.
But I do what I can.
Yeah.
And so we have two coming to St. Anne's in the morning, one going to St. John Newman. So I take the St. John Newman route since that's on my way to work, and Laura takes the twins to St. Anne's. So Jana's she's my passenger every single morning. So
yeah, no, that's nice because you get one-on-one time.
Yeah.
And she can't escape you. You're together. It's good time together. That's awesome. What's a hidden talent most people don't know about you?
I don't know, man. You stumped me there. I'm big into fitness. I actually competed. I was a bodybuilder many years ago.
Is that right?
Probably don't look at it. I lost a lot of weight, but I would say like just nutrition and working out is something I really want to enjoy. And I guess if you want to view that as a talent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cool.
But I competed competitively years ago and won some contests. So
that takes a lot because you got to deal with diet, you got to deal with discipline.
Yeah, it's the discipline part that I love, and structure, and so I would say if there's a talent, like I'm very disciplined and regimented, and
cool. How would your kids describe you?
I would say they would say I'm a hard worker. I'm never around. They know I'm working. I'm not out screwing around, hanging out, drinking at bars. I do enjoy golf, but I don't, like, on my time off, I'm with them. Or I try to be with them. As they get older now, they want to drift away with their friends, but I would say my dad's a hard worker. Because I do this for them, and they know that.
Yeah. And what do you do? Well, you go to Europe. What else do you do with your family family time, you would say, in Naples?
Naples?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like to, again, faith being a big thing, we take them to church. On the weekends, I, cherish my weekends with them. So typically it's church. My son, who's playing football right now, plays basketball. In fact, all three of them are very active in sports.
Awesome.
So, you might find me out in the street throwing a football to my son.
Nice.
Or
Patriots fan or Browns?
yes, the roots are still there. The Boston roots are still there.
Okay.
Although I will say Cleveland's a big sports town. So although we don't catch the Browns games here in Florida, we do find ways to, access the Browns games. So we still have some Cleveland Browns in us as well. But, and then here in Florida, we're either, my son, who's pretty avid football fan, we're making trips to Miami or to Tampa. So we go watch both. But yeah, we love just, again, them playing a little one-on-one basketball with the girls or with my son throwing the football.
He plays football?
He plays for the Gators, yeah.
Oh, he's a Gator. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
yep.
Awesome. At Fleischman.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. If you weren't in the automotive world, what would you do?
Wow. I love what I do. And as we've spoke for the last hour and a half about serving people.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't in, say, automotive, it would be some other line of business of just serving people. And what that is, I'm not really sure, because I love what I do. So I've never really even thought about, what's my alternative? Because I'm so committed to what I'm doing right now. But again, I would say it would be some line of work that just serves others, whatever that may be.
That's beautiful. What a perfect way to end. I love it. Well, really, this has been so cool for me.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Know you.
And likewise, I mean, from the first time I met you, just know that you're a good man, good soul, and everybody you surround yourself with around here, I know has the same beliefs. So keep up the good work.
Hey, likewise. Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure I fill that special cup that you gave me on
baby.
the way in one more time.
Yeah,
every time I come in,
that's right.
I'm going to hit up Dave and say, "Where's my cup?"
That's right. It's got your name on it.
So
I appreciate it, brother.
But yeah, thank you again.
So much. My pleasure.
And I really do appreciate you having me on the pod.
Gosh, it's super cool for us and really nice to get to know another great soul in our community. We're blessed to have you in Naples, and especially raising the family that you're raising, to see who's going to be a part of our community, because you've done a damn good job on your family. So love you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks again, buddy.
All right.